Hello, this is Jennifer Ermston Lowe. I'm the National Account Manager for Sports and Fitness Insurance Corporation. We are proud and excited to be your Workout Anytime insurance partner. Today's presentation is called Getting It Right. It's about how the right insurance can help you succeed with your Workout Anytime franchise. We're going to start by addressing the proper insurance coverage that you need for your facility. What do fitness businesses like mine really need? The big four general liability coverages are commercial liability, professional liability, abuse or molestation coverage, and medical payments coverage. We're going to go over each one of those individually next. Commercial liability provides premises protection for any claims arising from the facilities that you own, rent, or occupy. You're indemnified for alleged negligence resulting in bodily injury, property damage, or personal injury. Premises liability protection is incredibly important for you because it protects you from injury to members, guests, or visitors that have come into your space as they're out on the sidewalk, if they come across the threshold, inside your facility, inside your locker rooms and showers, as well as if they're injured working out on fitness equipment or in a training session. Please note that during a build-out phase, the building owner or the contractor usually insure the facility for the premises liability. Your liability as the tenant should begin when the build-out is completed. Professional liability is extremely important for fitness facilities because it protects you against injuries to a client resulting from a failure to render professional services, which are defined as the providing of physical training, fitness counseling, and nutritional counseling in the fitness industry. An example of our most common professional liability claims includes when a client claims to be injured because they were never given proper instruction on how to use a piece of equipment. In other words, they say they fell off the treadmill because no one ever showed them how to turn it off, how to slow it down, and those sorts of things. So make sure that your general liability policy includes coverage for professional liability. Abuse or molestation coverage is also important in the fitness industry. This coverage pays to defend the insured against allegations of sexual misconduct. Abuse and molestation is the greatest exposure for claims related to child watch programs, which I know that Workout Anytime facilities don't have child watch facilities. However, it is also important for one-on-one training with adults. So please make sure that your general liability policy does include coverage for abuse and molestation. Quite frequently, it is necessary to perform background checks on employees in order to have this coverage included on the policy. Medical payments coverage on a general liability policy reimburses a third party for medical expenses incurred as a result of an injury on a no-fault basis. Fitness industry-specific policies include coverage for athletic participants on the medical payments coverage. However, most general liabilities out in the business world exclude no-fault medical payments for athletic participants. Make sure that your policy, number one, includes coverage for no-fault medical payments, and two, that it does not have an exclusion for athletic participants. No-fault medical expenses help prevent a client from having to file a lawsuit in order to recover their medical bills. So they are very important. Other general liability coverage that it's important to know about and good to have on your policies include personal injury, advertising injury, limited cyber liability, employment-related practices liability, and employee dishonesty. We'll go through each of these quickly. Personal injury coverage protects you against lawsuits involving libel, slander, or wrongful invasion of privacy. Libel is defined as defamation by written or printed words. Slander is defined as defamation by the spoken word. Invasion of privacy involves the violation of a person's right to be left alone. However, this may include harassment or the improper sharing of client information. This coverage is critically important in today's world where electronic media such as websites, blogs, Facebook, Twitter are being used to promote our fitness businesses. So if a client's name is used, image is used without their permission, personal injury coverage can protect you. If something is stated in your website, blog, or on Facebook or Twitter that a client says hurt them, that's where personal injury coverage protects you. So make sure that you have personal injury coverage on your policy, on your commercial general liability policy. Advertising injury protects against claims arising out of the misappropriation of advertising ideas, such as copyright. Again, this is important today because we are reposting a lot on Facebook pages and in other places in our electronic advertising that we do. And you want to make sure you're covered in case you inadvertently repost something that's copyrighted or protected. Limited cyber liability provides personal and advertising injury coverage, the same two coverages we just talked about, that results from an unauthorized person hacking into your computer or your network or your website or your Facebook page and publishing information without your permission. In other words, if one member hacked in and posted something negative or a bad picture about another member, or posted something on a website or on your Facebook page without your permission about another member. So this is also limited cyber liability coverage is also good coverage to have. Employee dishonesty coverage is loss to business personal property and money and securities of the insured, that's you, from employee dishonesty. In other words, this protects you from an employee who would steal from you or misappropriate your funds. It is an optional coverage. It requires an additional premium. Employee dishonesty is frequently offered on a general liability policy for a small additional premium. That's how we offer it at Sports and Fitness Insurance. It can also be offered by other carriers on the property policy, on your commercial property policy, to protect you from theft by an employee. Employment-related practices liability coverage is very different from employee dishonesty coverage, although they sound similar. Employment-related practices, called EPLI, provides defense and indemnity protection against claims arising from the employer-employee relationship. This policy shields you as the employer against a number of employment-related claims, including discrimination and sexual harassment. We have seen claims for age discrimination, sexual orientation discrimination, religious discrimination. It is more common than you think, and this is very important coverage to make sure that you have. Employment-related practices can be offered on a general liability policy, usually with a sublimit, such as $10,000. There are also standalone policies available with higher limits. Your HR Solutions resource has an employment-related practices offering that's important for you to investigate. And also ask your insurance agent if employment-related practices is covered on your general liability or if it is available to be added onto your general liability. One important thing to note about employment-related practices liability coverage is that it is written on a claims-made basis. This means that coverage terminates at the end of the reporting period. So it is critical with employment-related practices claims to report them when there's a disgruntled employee. If you feel that an employee might go make a report to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission or to file a lawsuit at any time in the future, go ahead and report that you have a disgruntled employee who has threatened to report you for some kind of discrimination or harassment. Policies are different though, so make sure you always ask questions of your agent about your policy. The next important type of insurance coverage that you need as a fitness business owner is commercial property coverage. This includes coverage for business personal property, tenants improvements, building coverage, and business income. And we'll go over each one of those. Business personal property is coverage for your equipment, furnishings, and any other contents that you have paid for and put into your Workout Anytime franchise that can be removed if you move locations. Tenants improvements coverage are improvements made to your leased space by you that you paid for that would become the property of the landlord at the end of the lease. They are considered tenant improvements or leasehold improvements, and you have to insure them. However, at the end of the lease or if you move locations, they would stay permanently attached to the building. This includes ceiling, flooring, and other fixtures to the space that you wouldn't be able to take with you. Please note, during a build-out phase, the building owner or the contractor usually insure the tenant's improvements under a builder's risk policy until they are completed and turned over to you. At that time, they have to be covered on your commercial property policy. Building coverage for Workout Anytime facilities is usually going to be determined by your lease. Building coverage is any permanent part of the building structure that was installed and paid for by the owner, but is required by the lease to be insured by you, the tenant. These items usually include HVAC and glass. Business income is also called loss of income, and this coverage allows you as the business owner to be reimbursed for lost income in the event of a covered property loss that either fully or partially closes your business during the period of restoration while the repairs are being made. There is usually a 72-hour waiting period in lieu of a deductible. However, some policies will have a deductible. Business income coverage is important. It's not just for a situation where your business has to be fully closed. It is also for situations where your business is partially closed. You could have damage from a tree coming through the front window and there being water all over the front of the facility that causes you to have flooring, first of all, be dried out, then have the flooring replaced and have equipment repaired. You could be fully closed for a couple days, but you could be partially closed for a couple weeks while these repairs are made. Maybe you can't access that portion of the business. And if you have a loss of income during that time while you're either fully or partially closed, you can claim that as part of your claim after the 72-hour waiting period or the deductible. It helps you continue to pay your bills during a period while your business is being repaired. Obviously, in the event of a major claim where it might take 30, 60, or 90 days to repair your space and get you back up and going, this is critical to staying in business. So please talk through business income coverage with your agent, or feel free to reach out to us if you want to understand more about how you can calculate your business income limit for your policy. Common extensions of coverage that are frequently included on commercial policies, but not always included on commercial policies, are listed here. Again, it's important to ask questions of your agent or come to us if you have questions. But common extensions of coverage that are important for a fitness business include property of others in your care, custody, and control. This should be included in the business personal property definition for a fitness facility. Building plate glass can be included in the business personal property definition so that you don't have to schedule it as building coverage, which can save money. Outdoor signs and detached signs, they may have to be scheduled as a building coverage, or they may have to be scheduled as an outdoor sign. Make sure you insure your outdoor sign, whether it's attached or detached. if it's required on your lease that you're responsible for replacing it, or if you pay for it. Backup of sewer and drain other than flood. This is a great coverage to check and make sure that you have on your policy. It's usually a sublimit provided for the specified premises. Equipment breakdown, again, this is an important coverage for fitness facilities. It is automatically included by some carriers, including us, Sports and Fitness Insurance, but it is optional with other carriers, so make sure you ask about that. The next type of insurance that is important for your Workout Anytime franchise is workers' compensation coverage. The definition of workers' compensation is that it is state-mandated insurance coverage purchased by an employer to provide protection for employees injured on the job. Workers' compensation coverage includes the payment of actual medical bills, loss of work, and shorter long-term disability payments. Workers' comp is required by law in most states. You have to check your state to know how many regularly employed staff trigger your need for this coverage. Most states are around 3 employees, and employees are defined as either full-time or part-time and contractors. But owners and officers do not have to be included in that head count. States will impose penalties if workers' compensation is not purchased when it was required by law. Insurance carriers have to report the coverage to the states, so letting this coverage lapse can also result in fines. The best resource is the U.S. Department of Labor. They provide links to the correct department in all 50 states. Here is that link to the U.S. Department of Labor. Finally, the last type of insurance that is important for Workout Anytime franchises is a surety bond. Again, surety bonds are set by the state, so not all states require them. They are put in place to protect members from paying prepaid memberships and then a fitness facility going out of business. So there are a number of variables that would determine how much of a bond you would need. Those include the number of years a business has been in operation, whether or not a facility receives prepaid memberships, and the total price of each prepaid contract. In many states, after you've been in business for a specified number of years, you no longer have to carry a surety bond. If you do not receive prepaid memberships, in many states, you don't have to get a surety bond. Most states determine the value of the surety bond based on the value of your prepaid contracts that you're expecting. We have a resource for you on our Workout Anytime landing page that will list the states that require surety bonds, how much those surety bonds are, and what they cost. We do write surety bonds in all states that require surety bonds. That landing page is shown here, www.sportsfitness.com/WOA, and we're going to go to that landing page in a little bit. The next question that we get asked quite a bit that I wanted to address for you is, are my limits high enough? Well, first of all, how do we determine limits? For general liability, those limits are usually determined by your lease requirements, any business or personal assets that you might have beyond those lease requirements. Sometimes there are specific exposures, such as child care or product sales in the fitness industry, that might cause a business to want higher limits. But primarily for you, the Workout Anytime franchise limits and the lease requirements are going to be your 2 biggest factors in determining what general liability insurance limits you're going to need. Workout Anytime limit calculations are shown here. That is $2 million per occurrence, including your professional liability, or $4 million with general aggregate. And that $2 million should apply to the personal advertising injury as well as the products and completed operations limit. If your lease requires you to have higher limits, such as a $3 million occurrence or a $4 million occurrence limit, then an umbrella policy would increase the underlying general liability limits in increments of $1 million at a time. Some of the coverages on the general liability policies are variable and may change depending on the carrier. Limits for the coverage below vary by carrier and the option that you select on your policy. So the fire damage limit, this is any one fire that damages another tenant in your building. So if a fire started on your premises, but it burned the property next door to you, your fire legal liability limit would kick in. And that policy limit could be $100,000. It is $1 million on our policy, but it's usually 100 or $1 million. The sexual abuse or molestation limit is usually $100,000 at no additional charge, or it could be $300,000 at no additional charge. Usually to get the $1 million limit on that, there is an additional charge. The medical expense limit, and this is including participants, can vary between $1,000 on a fitness industry specific general liability policy up to $10,000, which is what it is on our policy. On all of these variable limit type coverages, it's important to ask your agent or come to us if you have any questions. We are your resource and we will help look at what you have and let you know if you have any questions. On commercial property, limits are primarily determined by your lease requirements and the value of your leased or purchased equipment. So your lease requirements, not only are they going to determine if you are required to insure the HVAC or if you're required to insure plate glass or signage, but they also will help determine the amount of tenants improvements that you're going to be required to insure. So make sure you have read your lease thoroughly, asked a lot of questions when you're negotiating your lease, because having to insure more is going to cost you more on your property insurance premium. And make sure when you apply for your insurance that you request the coverage to match your lease. Frequently, we have sections of the lease emailed over to us or sent over to us so that we can look at them when we're quoting property insurance for workout anytime franchises. And we're happy to help you do that to make sure we get the right coverage for you to satisfy your lease. Leased equipment. Equipment leasing companies require that the fitness facility insures the leased equipment and then that you provide proof of coverage. Usually this is a certificate of insurance. The leasing company will force place the insurance and charge you for that insurance if you do not provide them with a certificate of insurance. And it is important to note that forced place insurance will almost always cost a lot more dollar for dollar than just adding that leased equipment onto your business personal property limit of your own business commercial property policy. Always remember on your commercial property policy that your limits should be shown at replacement cost basis. This means that business personal property, tenants improvements, and building coverage should be stated as the cost to replace the equipment, not a depreciated actual cash value. Using actual cash value can put your business at risk for being underinsured and being unable to reopen after a loss. It costs a whole lot more to buy a brand new treadmill than one that's been depreciated for a few years. So in order to help you get back in business, we require replacement cost basis on all of our policies, and this is typical in the fitness industry. Most facilities are going to workout anytime facilities are going to select $1,000 deductible. On a commercial property policy, deductibles are applied per claim. So the very small amount that you could save for going to a $2,500 or $5,000 deductible will hurt very badly if you have more than one claim in a year. So I don't recommend for a smaller facility having anything other than the $1,000 deductible. Workers' compensation limits are usually the statutory limits, which are set by the states, which are $100,000 per accident, $100,000 for each employee with a specific disease, or $100,000 for the disease in aggregate. Your lease requirements may require that you have higher workers' compensation limits. Make sure you pay attention to that. I've seen $500,000 limits. I've seen $1 million limits. If you have an umbrella requirement, if you're having to buy an umbrella to meet a higher per occurrence limit, then it's important to go ahead and increase your workers' compensation limits up to $1 million so that the umbrella will go over the workers' compensation as well as the general liability. Again, we at Sports and Fitness Insurance are your insurance partner for Workout Anytime. If you have questions about any of these limits or coverages or your lease, we are happy to help you and review that with you and answer questions for you, even if we are not the company writing your insurance right now, okay? So please feel free to reach out to us anytime. I'm going to go to the Workout Anytime landing page next. Everything that you need is in one place on our landing page. We have the applications there, loss control information there, as well as links to fitness industry articles and videos that we provide for our insureds. Our dedicated underwriter for Workout Anytime is Hicks. He has a direct 800 number, 888-276-8392. And his email address is shown here as well, ahicks@sportsfitness.com. You can reach out to Anthony anytime. You can also reach out to me. Please note that we can work with your local agent. You can give your local agent our contact information. We work with local agents all over the country. We are the managing general agent for Liberty Mutual Insurance. So we work with Liberty Mutual agents all over the country as well as independent agents. So don't hesitate to give our information to your local agent if you have an agent that you work with and that you're close to. So I'm going to go to the landing page and show you what that looks like. www.sportsfitness.com/WOA. Insurance Anytime here on your Workout Anytime landing page. And here are the live links to the Workout Anytime applications. There is one application for the general liability and property insurance. There is a 24-hour access supplemental application that Workout Anytime franchises will need. There is a tanning application that may or may not be applicable depending on whether or not you've put in tanning beds. There's the workers' compensation application and the surety bond application, as well as a link to whether or not your state requires a surety bond. We also have a section here for more information and resources. There is a loss control document specifically tailored to fitness facilities about how to prevent claims. There's also a link to your Workout Anytime incident report and instructions on how to complete the incident report. So these are right here, live links that you can go to anytime. Over here is the link to our blog, which has all of the articles that we have posted and written for the fitness industry. A lot of risk management information is in there, as well as other information about fitness-specific insurance topics. And here's Anthony's contact information right here. I'm going to go back to the presentation and we're going to go over the incident report form. I'm going to show you what the whole form looks like here. So it is 2 pages, but we're going to go over each one of these sections as part of our presentation for some of the key information. Okay, so here are the resources on the landing page. And the incident report that you just saw is there from the landing page. Completing an incident report immediately after an incident occurs on your premises is the most important thing that you can do. Go ahead and write it up immediately while everything is fresh in your mind. Also, it is imperative that you administer first aid if needed, call 911 if needed, call a family member or friend to come pick the person up if they don't feel that they can drive. So go ahead and act immediately and take care of this person as best you can, and then write up all the information. We need basic facts like that person's name and address and phone number so that we can contact them. We need to know what's the best name and contact number for the manager that was there on site when the incident occurred. That may be you as the owner, or it may be one of your managers or assistant managers, but we need to know who at Workout Anytime is going to have the best information for us. So in addition to the basic facts of what happened, we need to make sure you note what day and what time that it happened. So those are the basic information. The other party information: a detailed description of the incident, detailed description of any injuries. If there was property involved, in other words, if there was a piece of equipment that malfunctioned or broke, make sure that you make a note of that. Take photographs of that. Save any parts that are going to need to be replaced, or also make sure that you note that that machine is out of service until a qualified repair technician comes in to service it, so that no one uses a piece of equipment that was involved in an incident if there is a possibility that it malfunctioned or broke. There's always a possibility that it was a product liability issue rather than a maintenance issue, or rather than a user error issue. So that's why we don't want to throw out any parts. We do want to take pictures. If there's an employee involved, if they were working with a trainer, or if an employee was standing right there when something happened, we want their name and number. We also want the name and number of any witnesses that were standing right there when an incident happened. Any action that you have taken, if you applied first aid, if you administered first aid, if you called 911, any action that you took, we want you to go ahead and write that down. Any action that was requested by the injured person, if they asked you to call 911, if they asked you not to call 911, if they asked you to turn this into your insurance carrier, if they asked you for the number of your insurance agent, let us know what action they requested. Please note that if they have requested no contact from your insurance at all, if they haven't said they're going to file a claim, we can turn in an incident report and keep it for reporting purposes only. There's an item to check for that at the end of the report. This needs to be turned in right away, or this needs to be saved for reporting purposes only, which means we keep it on file and we don't send it to the carrier unless they file a claim. However, if it is a serious or significant injury, or if 911 was called and they left in an ambulance, we usually want to go ahead and send that on over to the carrier, marked incident report only at this time. No claim has been filed yet, but we want to make sure that anything that was a serious injury may get looked at or followed up on. Please keep all incident reports on file indefinitely, and make note of any future contact from the injured party. If they call you and say, please suspend my membership, I'm not going to be able to work out for a month or 2 months. It is important for you to note that claims can be turned in years after the incident occurred, that the number of years is set by the state. Many states, it's up to 7 years for a liability claim. So you basically want to keep those incident reports indefinitely. And again, if you have any questions, come to us, call us. We are happy to help you. We are here to help your Workout Anytime succeed. Having the right insurance will help your Workout Anytime succeed. Number one, protecting your assets with appropriate insurance means that you're not being underinsured, will help ensure that a claim will not put you out of business. You have to stay in the game to win. Carrying the right insurance limits, i.e. not being overinsured, will keep you from spending valuable funds that could be put to use marketing your business. You have limited assets, and using them wisely will help you move ahead of your competition. The bottom line, understanding your insurance helps you make the right choices as your business grows to outlast your competition. A healthier business stays stronger longer. Sports and Fitness Insurance Corp has been dedicated to helping fitness business owners like you for over 30 years. We are in our 32nd year being dedicated to the fitness industry. We have over 100 years of underwriting experience in the fitness industry, and we are here to be your resource. Thank you for your time viewing this presentation. Please reach out to us if you have any questions. We are looking forward to working with you.